Okay, we'll start with Fashali, Sky Sports News.
Roy, firstly, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Can we start off with the news that Dean Henderson is now a Crystal Palace player? Just how pleased are you to have been able to welcome him to the squad, and how important was his arrival to the team in terms of bringing Premier League experience to this team?
I think most importantly of all, he brings a situation where we have two outstandingly good goalkeepers, so the competition between them is going to be very, very important, and of course is good for us because it means whichever one of the goalkeepers gets the number one shirt, we know we've got a top class goalkeeper. And more importantly than that perhaps is the fact that, you know, a lot of things can happen during the season, and if you've got two goalkeepers, each of whom are of the same level of performance, it means that if anything happens to one of them, you're still as well provided for between the sticks as you were before.
Sam Johnson has started all 4 of Palace's games this season. How do you make the call as to who will become the number one goalkeeper this season? Is Sam Johnson in goal for this game against Wolves?
Yes, Sam Johnson being in goal against Wolves. I mean, Dean's only just arrived at the club. He needs to understand a bit more about the club and the team, get to know his teammates before he can really provide the sort of competition we're expecting him to do. We didn't sign him because we don't have a goalkeeper or we are desperately in need of a goalkeeper. We signed him because he was very good. We were able to persuade him to come here, and it leaves us now in the situation where several other teams like ourselves are looking at 2 goalkeepers, either of which could quite happily play in the first team, and they will have to both be accepting of the fact that they do both want to play, but I can only play one of them, and they'll have to accept the competition that provides.
And what's the situation with Vicente Guaita? Do you expect him to still be a Palace player tomorrow?
That's something I have not been dealing with. That's something which has been dealt with by the club itself. It's a club issue. So the chairman, Steve Parish, is dealing with that situation, and I don't have any update on where he is on that subject.
If he does stay, do you think it will be possible to reintegrate him back into the squad?
Once again, I've got no idea whether he will stay or not, and you know, these are hypothetical situations. At the moment, his situation is being dealt with by the chairman, and I'll wait until the chairman tells me whether he's here or not here.
This morning, reports have linked Arsenal defender Rob Holding to Crystal Palace. Is he a player you'd be interested in, and have you got an update on that situation?
Rob Holding is a player that's interested us for a while. In particular, Doug Friedman knows him very well and has a lot of time for him. You know, we are working on the basis perhaps that you can't have too many good quality players in your squad. So if he was available and it was a deal that was doable for the club as far as Steve Parish and Doug Friedman are concerned, I can only say I'd be very, very happy to welcome him here, because our squad compared to a lot of the other squads I look at is not that massive. So it's not as if we're already banged out with players, and there is space, if you like, in a 25-man squad for another player, and if it could be Rob, of course we'd be very happy for that, but again, that's something which both Doug and Steve are dealing with, so I don't quite know where we are on that subject.
One more transfer-related question. Do you expect any more business to be done before the close of the window today in terms of other positions in the squad?
Well, the good thing, I think, for us in this transfer window is that we've kept the team that I was hoping to work with again when I returned to the club. Now, at one stage with McElhenney, that looked as though that might not be a possibility. And of course, with the number of clubs who've circled around some of the other very good players that we have and been interested in signing them, for me, the best thing about this transfer window is that we still have the team that I came here to work with. I think we are still working on improvements. The club is always open to improvements, and Steve and Doug are still working at this moment to see if there's players who we could bring in that would really improve our team, make us even more exciting than we hope we're able to be. And of course, you know, we, as I said, we can afford it because we aren't top heavy in terms of our squad. But if nothing happens, and at the end of this transfer window, the chairman comes to me and said, well, the other options that we were perhaps pursuing did not work out, I still think we'll have a very good squad now with the players we've got, keeping what we had, signing Jefferson Lerma, signing Dean Henderson, and who's the other one we brought in?
Anchor. Mateus.
Oh yes, Mateus, yeah. I tend to forget him because I don't see him every day because he's still injured, but one day I shall see him a bit more often, I hope.
You mentioned France. I mean, have you got an update on his injury, when he might be back? Michael Elise, and any other injuries to talk about ahead of the game against Wolves?
No other injuries. And Frank, he's with our medical department. They're keeping an eye on his situation. I think he's going to have another scan fairly soon to see if there's been any improvement in the original problem that we had to deal with. But I don't have an update in terms of the time he'll come back and join us. At the moment, I have to accept that he's one we will have to wait on, as we still have to wait on Michael Elise, because both of them, Michael in particular, had a very serious injury, and the injury that we've discovered with Mateus needs to be looked after. Pleasure.
Well,
We can see you. Hundreds of millions of pounds still swapping hands right up to the 11 p.m. deadline in the Premier League. Are you quite looking forward to things settling down?
Well, this money swelling around and all the excitement of players moving homes hasn't really affected us to any great extent. We did our business with Jefferson Lerma early on. We did our business with Mateus Franca fairly early on. Even Dean Henderson has been under discussion, and discussions have been going on, and I've always been led to believe that hopefully an agreement will be reached with Man United, so you will have him as well. So in actual fact, I've been fairly serene in this transfer window, because I think we do have a good squad. I think the squad is more than good enough to get us where we would like to be. Of course, one never turns down more players, or turns down players who could improve the squad even more, but they're not easy to find, and I'm more than satisfied or convinced that Steve Parish and Doug Freedman, who are the main protagonists in that area, they're doing their level best to see if there's anybody out there that they could bring in which will make us even stronger. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and I should be more than happy to work with the squad I have.
A lot of eyes on Eze, his development, his key role in your side offensively. Talk to us, I guess, about his ongoing development, his evolution, the importance he has in your side moving forward.
I think all teams have got players who are important for them in their attacking phases or the defensive phases, and if you're going to be a good Premier League team, then you need good players, and that's what we have. And Erik is definitely one of those. He's a good player. I'm delighted to see that he's been recognised again and will be in the England squad. And the same applies to Sam Johnson and Mark Gay. I think it's a big feather in the cap of Crystal Palace Football Club that we can provide 3 international players. We weren't able to do that very often during the 4 years I spent here previously. So I think that in terms of development, he's already at a very good stage of his career. He's not a young player coming through to show what he's capable of. He's done all that. He's an established quality player, and his goal, I guess, is to continue at that very high level and to make certain that he even can take the next step, and the next step, of course, will be establishing himself in the national team like he's done here at Crystal Palace. Now, to do that, there will be enormous competition, but that will be his goal, I'm sure. And if you're talking about development, that's the type of development we'll be trying to help him with. But most importantly of all, the development comes from playing games and learning, if you like, from any mistakes you make along the way.
We talk about Wolves and Gary O'Neill. How deserving for you was he of this opportunity at Molyneux after the job he did last season with Bournemouth, after how it ended for him at Bournemouth?
Yeah, I think he's very deserving, and I think he's a good coach, a good manager. I think he showed that, as you say, at Bournemouth. He's taken our Sean Derry with him, another very good coach, so we know that they're going to be a hard team to beat going forward, because we know how well organised they'll be. And of course I'm pleased for him that he was able to get this opportunity at Wolves after the Bournemouth experience. But don't forget, whenever you ask other managers about managers who are recently in place, you have to spare a thought for the one who's left the job. So it's a fact of football life that managers come and managers go. But I think one has to be very careful when one is speaking as someone from the outside in a managerial position to say too much about a manager coming in, because it can be implied that you're criticising the one who's lost his job. But I'm pleased to see him there. I'm happy for him. It's nice that he got the opportunity to bounce straight back, and I think he'll do an excellent job.
I think he took over 48 hours before the start of the Premier League season after Lopetegui's departure. I know they're long days, but they're particularly long days, Roy, when you take a team over 48 hours before the start of a new season.
Well, it's an exciting time when you come in like that, is it? You know, you're not worn down by any failures. You're not worn down by anything going on at the club which is, you know, causing you headaches. Everything is fresh, everything's new, everything's rainbow coloured, in the sense that it's presenting you think, with lots of opportunities. And of course they got off to a great start when he came in. They went up to Manchester United, in my opinion, with a better team on the night, and deserved to probably win the game, let alone draw the game. So that's nice when that happens too, when you get that type of start. But of course the thing in our business is it's not starts, it's finishes that count. And to get the finish, you have to go through quite a few periods during the season where it isn't rainbow coloured. It can be quite grey and murky, and they're the moments you've got to fight through.
Many were expecting Wolves to be in a fight this season. One of how many clubs?
No, I'm not expecting that. No, I have no idea. I have no idea which teams will be in a fight and which teams will be racing for a good place in the middle of the table. I do know the billionaires, if you like, in our league at the top, who are more than likely not to be in any trouble in terms of keeping their Premier League status, because their job is to get into the Champions League. But if you take away those that everyone would probably agree are the ones fighting for the Premier League title and fighting for Champions League places, then I think, as far as the rest are concerned, I don't have anybody that I'm putting in any sort of category whatsoever.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for haters? No. In the next section. All right, that ends the broadcast section. Thank you.